I would like to start with where we have stopped last time about the scope of variables. Now, when we are creating variables, especially within a function, we need to know whether this variable is visible or not to the outside. Usually, in a function, when we create a variable, it will visible only to that function. We used to say it's local. For example, if you take this example, so there are two A's here, but whatever the A we define within the function will appear only within this. Because of this reason, now here we will say equals naught, and then there's a function which try to change value of A. So when you print A originally, it will print 0. And when you change A, this A and this A, these two A's are different. So both of them actually refer different memory references. Because of this reason, if you print A, there's no change of the content of A, so it will be 0 and 0. But let's say we want to make the change. When you call the function, in that particular case, we have to tell the Python interpreter that these two are the same. So to make it a global, we have to use the keyword global keyword. So when you define global A, now when you say A equals 1, these two A's will be the same A. So therefore, when you say this one, it will print 0, next time it will print 1. And this is the place where we discussed last time, right? And then at the same time, we did a couple of examples on the local variables, and then we create some functions. And these are the things that we did for our last session. Okay, the next thing that I would like to discuss for today, the new topic, is modularization. Especially this is very, very important. Now, Python is getting popular. One reason is there are a lot of modules are there. There are various modules that you can use for any task that you want to do with Python. Right. Now, module, what is a module? Now, we learn how to create a function. So sometimes when you develop an application, you have to have your own set of functions. And then whenever you need, then you can use it as a separate module. So module is nothing, a small code, or you can say small program where you keep a set of functions together. Right? So for example, we can create a module called temperature module. So there we can create several functions to work with temperature values. So whenever you need the functionality of the module, you can import it. The word import is keyword we use in Python. Right? So when you're working with the modules, there are some what we call standard libraries, which means when you install Python, they are already available in your system. Right? So let's see some of them. Now, let's first look at how to make use of modules. So I'm going to talk about first use of math. Math is a standard module available in Python. So math module can be used to use various mathematical function available in that library, right? So for example, I can show you these are some of the functions availability within this. For example, if you want to calculate the square root of a value, then there's a function called square root. You can calculate logarithm in natural logarithm and also the logarithm in the base of 10. Then we have trigonometric functions. Sin x, cos x, tan x. Then you can convert in between degrees, radian and degrees, different round of functions, seal and flow, getting power of something, and even the constants like pi and e, you can use it. Okay, so let's try to understand how to use them. Now let me switch back to right. So the first step is when you want something, you have to first say import. Import is a keyword that we will tell Python interpreter that we are going to use a module. And the module name we will come up with here, we say import math. Nothing will change. I'm just running this because it takes some time to create the runtime environment. Now, once we math is ready, then we can call the function. Right. Now that we have actually import the math, you can use any function within this module. So for example, when you get the square root of value, so we can say math.square root. This is the function. Let's say the value is 2. So when you run it, now you can see, yes, we will get the outcome of the square root of 2 as 1.414 something. So this is the first method of accessing a function in right method module. Now, when you say import math, one of the issues is you might call all the functions available. So there's another way that you can say you need to get only a particular function. So the second method is, this is method 2. We can say from math import square root of. We can say from math import square root. So what happens here, whenever you use in this fashion, right, you don't have to type math again. So you can directly call square root of function and you can say 2, which should give us the same answer. So whenever you have very lengthy module name, and every time when you type the module name and the function will take some time. To shorten that, most of the time we will abbreviate, we will shorten the library name. So in this particular case, now earlier we use import math.square root. So anytime when you create some function, you have to use math dot. So instead of that, what we can do is import math as m. We shorten math as m, and we will say m dot square root. So when you run it, again, you will get the same answer. Right. Now, as you can see, you can use various functions available in Python. So you can always type help that math or maths dot particular one, you can get it, right? So let me show you how you can actually do that. So for example, here, when you go here, so let's say you want to know about math, so we can say help.math, which will try to have everything, which list everything about the math library. So every information is there. But let's say if you want to look at only the square root of function, then we can say maths.square root, which now will only output the help for square root of function. Right. Now, let me calculate a very simple calculation on to find, okay, here is the question. So find sine 30 and sine 60 using the math library. Sine 60 and sine 30. Find sine 30 and sine 60. So we know the function should be math.sine, isn't it? So I'm going to just check math.sine. Okay, sine x returns sine of x. Okay, we have to measure it in radians. But we have to get sine. If you just say 30, it won't recognize and we won't get the correct answer because we assume in radians. So that means you need to convert as well. So now let's look at, we are going to give the radian value. So convert angle x from degrees to radian. So we can combine these two. So first of all, you get the value, convert into radians, then you find the sine value. That's what you should be doing. So let's assume that, okay, we say import maths.sine. If you just say 30, will not get the correct answer. You can try this, but this is not the correct answer. Because 30 taken as a radians. So what we need is we have to convert this in radians. So now what happens? We actually get a math radians value. So you see that we get the correct answer. Actually, it's answer very close to the correct answer because there are a lot of decimal points. That's why we end up getting this. If you are curious of reason why we are getting this, especially fractional numbers inside the computer, we cannot exactly represent as it is. So we are using the format called IEEE 754, which has some limitations. But you know that when you're rounding off these to 1 or 2 decimal places, you'll get 0.5, which is the correct answer. Right. So likewise, I'm not going to discuss about the in length exactly what we need to do, but I hope you got the basic idea of how you may use different libraries available in Python. So math is the standard library available. Right. Let's move on. We will now going to discuss a very interesting topic in Python. Since we discussed the basics of the Python programming, now we are comfortable with the basic understanding, with the logic, conditionals, and even how to call libraries. So in this section, we are going to look at the different ways that we can store data in Python. So any programming language, you have different data structures. So in Python also supports this different ways of storing data. So we are going to talk about 4 different built-in data structures. So they are lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. So understanding these different types of data structure is very important when you are learning a language, because all the other operations built on top of these different data structures. So these 4 has different qualities. We need to understand what those are and how to use them properly. So let's start. Our first data structure is called lists, which is, you may call it array as well, but Python list is slightly different from array types, which you can have any data in Python lists. But one common thing you need to remember is that the list can hold ordered collection of items. So that means whenever you store something in a list, you have an order. And these items are enclosed in square brackets. So when you're representing a list, we use square brackets, and square brackets tells us that, okay, it uses a list data structure. Once you create the list, you can actually add, you can remove, you can search for items, because you can change whatever you have in the list. So because of this reason, we can say that the list in Python is a mutable data. Mutable means you can change the way you want. On the other hand, we will see there are some other data structures will not allow you to do this. Okay, let's start then.
Aquí mama anne me arada anne me kaya diye ne gande ne dara ke ne dara can be seen out.
Right. Now let's start with data structures. The first thing I'm going to talk about lists. Right, list data structure. So let's create a number list. Okay, so let's creating a number list, or you can say create a list of numbers. So first of all, you can provide a name, let's say number list, and let's use square brackets. So square brackets indicates that, okay, this is a list. So how do you create a list? So since you are going to give some numbers, you can separate numbers with commas. So we can use comma. Right now you can see here, I create a number list. I put 11, 2, 23, 45, and 50. 5 numbers. So let me run this. So there's no output here. We just stored 5 numbers as a list. Now let me take another code window. Let me print the numbers. Print in the list is easy. Just say print and name of the list. Right? So what happens? You create a list.
Okay.
This represent using the square brackets. You comma separate the values. In this particular case, we have a set of numbers and we print the list. So there are different methods available in lists where you can get the information. Now let me show you how to get the length of the list. Length of the list. So there's a function called length function where we can actually use to get the length of a list. So we can simply say print length and we can say number list. So what happens here? It will get the number list of numbers you print it. So there are 5 numbers here. The length is 5. So remember that length could be used to get the number of elements in a list. So this len function tells us, okay, there are 5 elements in this list. Okay, another thing that you need to understand is how to access each individual elements. Now, when you want to access individual elements, the best way would be use of indexes. Index means, for example, in Python 0 index base, the first element index as 1, second one as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you can input this 4. So that means if you want to access the first element, right? So we have to tell, right? We have to tell that, okay, I need to access number list 0, which indicates the first element. Similarly, yes, if you look at the last one, I can say number list 4, which gives you the last item. Right. So let's get some information separately. So now let's say I'm going to access the first element. The first element. So how do you get the first element? We have say number list, and then we put 0. And the first element is 11 then. Okay. Second element, you can put 1. third element 3, fourth element, right? So the value is 3. Right. So that's how we can, access the elements. Next, let's add some. So adding an item, you can do it in various ways. Mainly, I'm going to discuss 2 ways. Whenever you want to add item to the end of the list, you can use append method. It's like this. We can say, okay, adding item adding item to the end of the list. So the list name is number list dot. Remember, this command is append. And let's append 29. Right? And then just print the number list. So if you run this, now you will see earlier we had 5 elements, 11 to 23, 45, and 15, 5 elements. And now when you say append 29, that 29 is appended to the end of the list. And now there are 6 elements. So the next one that I'm going to discuss, how do you add item anywhere in the list? Because append, we discussed, it will add the item to the end of the list. So there's a method called insert in list where we can define where you need to put the item is in. So let's assume that we want to put value in between here. So let's say we want to put 20 as the second item. So the command is we can use insert, and within the insert method, we can provide 2 arguments. The first one, the index, second one, the value. So it should go like this. So let's say we have code window. We can say, okay, number list dot insert. Okay, first you have to put the index. We know the first item is 0. We want to make it after that. So that means the index is 1, comma, then the value. So the value we will put as 20. So when you write that, let's we can see. Now let's print the number list again. So we will say print number list. So now you can see the 20 is inserted between first and the second item. So simply we said where we want to insert in with the index. Right. So that is how where we can change. You can, add anything here. Okay, now that we know about the indexing, you can access any item here. So for example, let's say I'm going to get this item 2, right? So for example, I can say print number list 0, 1, 2. So when you put 2, you see it will display 2. So let's make it to 200. Instead of 2, let's make it to 200. We'll call this, we can change the value. So simply what we need to do is we call the number already available, that is 2, should be equal to 200. So this will actually change the value. That means third item 0, 1, 2 as 200. So let me check. Print number list. So now you can see the third one, earlier we had it as 2. Now it has changed to 200. Right. If you have any unclear places, please let me know in the chat. Right. Now let's look at how to sort this. Anyway, I mean, when you want to get help in list, you can say help and list, which generally gives you a list data structure, and it will also list what methods are available. Everything is there. So let me use the sort method. So we can say help sort, and it goes on like this. So it says help on method, sort, self, and then there are different values. Sort the list in ascending order and return none. Sort is in place, the list itself is modified, and in order to equal element is maintained. Right. So now let's see what will happen. Now our list name is number list. Let's use number list dot sort. So simply make a note of this. This will ascending order, right? So now, for example, if you say number list now, you can see the order. Now values are sorted according to their value, which means ascending order. Now, if you ask the question like, let's say, how do you sort in descending order? So the case is, we can look at here, there's some argument that we can pass as a reverse, and we can say true here. So reverse black can be said to sort descending order. So instead of say a reverse false, we will say a reverse true. So now this is ascending. So if you know it descending order, we will say number list dot sort reverse. I'm going to make it a true value. Now let's print it. Number list. So now here we have ascending order. Here we have descending order. We have descending.
So I thought it should be A or B, so I went with A.
Right, you can see this is ascending order and this is in descending order. Okay, great. So now I think so far we discussed the basic ideas. We discussed how to insert, change, and even sorting. We have come up to this one. Last two things that I would like to discuss. How do you remove item? So removing item is easy. You can remove item based on the location, that means the index, or you can remove the item based on the value. Both are fine. So let me explain. Right now we have these ideas, elements. So let's try to remove. Removing means deleting. It's a del. I can say number list, and we can specify as an index which item to remove. So let's say first item. So to say first item, I will say del number list 0, and you run it, then just print it. If you check the list now, earlier our list starts with 200, 45, 29. Okay, 200 is gone because we are deleting the first element. When you're using delete in the first element, right, this is what we left. This is how you can remove something from the beginning of a list. Second method is you can remove based on the value. So this based on the value, let's say 20. So in that particular second method is we can say number list remove, and you put up whatever the value. So let me say 20. So remove 20 from the list. That's all. Usually when you have multiple values, it might remove the first occurrences. If that is the case, okay, we removed it. So now let's print it back. So now when you run it, you can observe 45, 29, 23, 20 is gone because it will remove based on the value. We left with 15 and 11. Okay, I think this is what you need for the basics, and everything is there inside the slides. You can try them later on. And we discussed the very basic commands available here with list data structure. So if you want to remove the whole list, simply we can say, okay, del number list. Right. To summarize what we have discussed for up to now, list is a data structure available in Python where we can create a mutual data structure. Mutual means you can, once you create, you can change, you can update, you can delete values. So here are the summary of methods that we have looked. We got the length of the list using len function. Then we have used both append and insert to add items, sort to sort the list. We use del and remove to remove items based on the location as well as based on the value. General help also we discuss. If you just say help list, you will get general information about the list in Python. But let's say you want to know more about particular method, you have to type help list.method name. So for example, to get the append method in lists, you can use help list.append. Right. So make a note of this. Right. Small exercise for you to try. So what I want you to try is, let's start with this small exercise. I want you to create a list with some shopping items. Then print the length, print the items, add another item to the list, print the list again, sort the list, print only the first item of the list, remove the first item, again print the list. So let's start. So you can see we created the list with 4 items: apple, mango, and carrot and banana. I have stored in a list called shopping list. You can give any item, any name for this. I use shopping list here. First one, it asks to print the length of the list. So I put the command print length shopping list will give us 4 items, which indicates that there are 4 items in the list. Third one, print items on the list. So let's say print shopping list, which will indicate what is in the list. Actually, there's another way that we can actually print the list, which we have not discussed. We can print each item separately. Maybe we can learn it here. So with the for loop, you can go through each one item at a time. So we can say for I in, and then we say the shopping list. So here what happens when you say for I in shopping list, every time within this for loop, it will take one item at a time. So for example, let's say I want to print item name. Simply what I have to tell is print type. So it will print one after the other. So first it will print apple, then mango, then carrot, then banana. So let me run this. So you can see here. So this is an iterative way of printing items one after the other. So each iterate to every item in the shopping list and it will print. Make a note of this because we didn't discuss this in the previous one. Right. So we, according to the exercise, we create the list, we print the length of the list, print item on the list. Now, give me the command to add rice to this list. Can you give me a command, please? In the chat. I want to add, let's say, rice. How do you do that? So let's use append method to, so we can say shopping list, append, and I said rice. And then let's print again. So let me say print shopping list. So I appended the rice, and then when I say print shopping list, you see now rice is added at the end of the list. Good. Okay, now sort the list. Can you sort the list? And then print only the first item? So the next part is we have to sort the list. So sorting the list will be very simple. We can say shopping list dot sort. And we will print shopping list just to make sure to see whether it is sorted properly. Yes. So it's sorted according to the ascending order. Apple, banana, carrot, mango, and rice. Then let's add only the first item. print shopping list. First item, when you say first item, that should be 0, which will indicate the apple. So let's remove the first item then. So either you can use remove or you can use del. So let me use del shopping list. I will say, okay, remove the first item. So when you do that, it will remove the first item. And if you print shopping list again, now you should see only the remaining values: banana, carrot, mango, and rice. So, yeah, that's all I think what we had in the exercise. So we are going to discuss a little bit more complicated one. Now, what if you have list within the list? So remember Python, I told you it supports mixed data as well. At the same time, it supports nested list, which means you can have a list within another list. List inside a list, or we can short say nested list. So now let's look at some modification to our shopping list we have created earlier. Now in previous shopping list, the problem is we list down the items, but we never thought about like the quantity of the items that we want to purchase. So in this example, we are going to look at some modification to the previous one. This time I'm going to say it as my shopping list. And then we will, when we add an item to the list, we always add two things. That means name of the item and the quantity as a list. Okay, so let's see how we can implement this. I'm going to do it as an right. So I'm going to say my shopping list. So this is a different list. Initially it's empty, right? And then when you add it up, you can use, let's say, my shopping list dot append. Remember that when you're appending, we are not only adding one item. We are going to say apple, and then we are going to put a number 5. So let's print it and see. Sorry. So let's print this, print my shopping list. So when you run it, now you can see we have 5 apples. Okay, small exercise for you. Add 7 oranges to this list and send me the, share me the code. Right? So let's say I'm going to add 7 oranges to the list. My question is, what is the command? So now I'm going to get the code. I'm going to add my shopping list dot append. Let's say orange, comma 7. So you see, now I should have 2 items. So let's take the code again. Print my shopping list. You should now see there are two items in the shopping list. One is 5 apples. Second one is 7 oranges. Now that we have two items in the list, if you want, we can separately print items. So for example, let's say, if you want to print only the first part of the list, we can say, okay, print my shopping list, and we can put 0, which will give you only the first item. So we know that when you say my shopping list 1, then it says 7 oranges. Let's take the number. If you want to access these individual elements, then we have to go within this, because this will refers to a list. And if you want to refer items within the list, then we have to have other ways of accessing it. So this is how we will use. Let's say first we'll access the name of the item. So my shopping list, 0 will be the first one. First item, that means this. Within that, you want to access name of. So it says apple. Similarly, if you need number of items you have, we can say print 0, 1. It says 5. Right, now small exercise, change the number of apples to 7. Right now what we have, sorry, my shopping list. So now you can see there are 5 apples and 7 oranges. Let's change this 5 to 7. My question is, what is the statement to do that? Change that. So apple, this one, right? So that means my shopping list, this is the first one, that means 0. Within the 0, we have 0 and 1. So the trick is, I'm first going to, let's print it. My shopping list 0, and let's say 1. So this should give us how many apples we have. We have 5 apples. Let's change this to 7. So what you need to do is you access this item that should make it to 7. So we can say my shopping list 0, 1, that is number of oranges. Let's put up 7. Right. So item is passed. We have changed the value as well. So now let's print the code. Print my shopping list. So when you run and observe, you can see it says both items we need 7 each. So right now, let's look at how we can represent matrices. Those who are familiar with matrices, you know that many cases in many things, we can make it to a matrix. For example, let's say image. Image is a two-dimensional representation, which we can represent using matrix. So many of the cases, we need to represent data in this matrix form. That means 2D form. Let's look at an example. So in here, we have a matrix and we have 3 rows and 3 columns. Usually we say this is a 3 by 3 matrix. So let's say you want to represent matrices using standard library, standard um, um, so we were discussing about the matrix representation. Here we have a 3 by 3. Each row we have 3 elements, and then we have 3 such columns. The trick that we are going to use, we are going to create nested lists. So for the whole matrix, we will create a list. And then each row we separate. So you can see 1, 2, 3, the one list, 4, 5, 6, another list, 7, 8, 9, another list. Okay, type this. Once you finish, please raise your hand, then we can discuss. Let's do it together. So let me change back to my Jupyter notebook. So I'm going to create something called matrix. And we will have a list of lists. So within this, we will first represent the first row, that is 1, 2, 3. Comma, then the second row, 4, 5, 6. Third row, we will have 7 and 8 and 9. Right? So when you say print matrix, you will see no change. We will have a 3 by 3 matrix representation. Next one. Now let's look at whether we want to access a row. So simply we can use matrix. 0 will be the first item, 1 will be the second item, 2 will be the third item. So let's say I want to access the second item. So we can say matrix 1. Right? So we have 4, 5, 6, middle one. Next, let's look at one of the examples. So right now we have got the middle one. So let's focus on the middle one as well. So what we can do is, instead of matrix 1, we can say matrix 1, 1. So the idea that we have used here is the first item to selecting a row, you can select 1, that is 4, 5, 6. But then when you specify exactly, you have 5, the middle element. So this is the easiest way we can represent matrices. And in the next class, I will talk about the other types of data structures, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So with that one, we will finish the theory here. Right. if you're finished, maybe we can